Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayla's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, here's Jim Coyle.
Hey, welcome aboard Friday. It is Happy Friday, and man, oh man, it's going to be a fun one. The NCAA tournament is underway, and it did not disappoint. Cinderella is alive and well. I don't know that I want to call them Cinderellas anymore. Man, appreciate you joining us. Jim Coyle along for you. Joining me today, Alec, Lasley, Zach Osterman, Bill Bender as well. Man, oh man, was yesterday a fun day in the NCAA tournament. Upsets, I'm starting to not really call them upsets. This is going to be the norm. We've talked about this. The parity, baby. The parity is here. These teams on a given day, there's just too much talent out there. And boy, is it fun to watch. It's fun to watch the upsets. It's fun to watch the near misses. We had all of that. Everybody. Duke beat Siena 71-65. They were trailing at the half by 9 to Siena, the number 16 seed. Michigan led by 4 over Howard at the half. They win 101-80, so they didn't exactly blow them away. Houston was one of the easier wins yesterday, a 2 seed over number 15 Idaho, 78-47. Michigan State had no trouble with North Dakota State, 92-67. And Illinois and Penn, the matchup with Fran McCaffrey, that was fun for a while, but Illinois used that European offense and put a century note on them, 105-70. Let's see, Gonzaga. Kennesaw State gave Gonzaga all they wanted. Gonzaga, I think, goes down in the next game. We'll get to the brackets and see who's coming up, but on Saturday. But it was just it's a lot of fun games. I'm telling you, it was just really engaging and fun. You have to be enjoying this if you're getting a chance to watch it. But did I not say? What did I say? Is today Thursday? No, today is not Thursday. But today's Friday. Man, Russell on the comments boards got me all jacked up. Looking forward to more games. I went 11-5 on my bracket yesterday. I don't feel bad about that, to be honest with you. I hit on a couple of upsets, and then I missed Texas A&M was one I missed on. I can't remember him, but I picked St. Mary's in that. And then Ohio State lost that one by a bucket, man. TCU knocks Ohio State out with a 66-64 win. Let's see. Oh, how about St. Louis? Man, I watched that game. Last year, I was a little confused, or not confused, but I was a little bewildered by the fact that Josh Church didn't get a bigger bump leaving Indiana State. I was like, St. Louis, it's not that big of a bump, man. And I'm like, that's not a great move. He knew what he was doing. He moved to a position or a place where he could grow bigger a little bit. It's in St. Louis as opposed to being in Terre Haute. No offense, but big difference there. And man, oh man, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Nerd, they had it rolling. I mean, rolling. They rolled Georgia. They scored 102 points. And at one point, I don't know how big the lead actually was, because I think that Georgia, it may have been 40 points. Georgia scored like 20 points at the closing, but they still got outscored in the second half by St. Louis. St. Louis scores 49 points in the first half, 53 in the second. I mean, they were just lighting it up. Some of these 3-point shots, dude, these are low goers. It's incredible. It has been a blast to watch these. VCU North Carolina game. Boy, wow. VCU completes the largest comeback in NCAA tournament first round history. Down 19 in the second half. They were down 18 with 12 minutes to go. They were still down 15 with 9 minutes to go. And I think they were down 5 with like a minute to go. It was crazy. I went back and rewatched the game. I was watching this game at 1 a.m. Just because it was so good. But and that means there's going to be more of that today. NIL, it's not NIL, it's the transfer portal. The transfer portal has delivered this. We all hate the ability for guys to move relentlessly in the transfer portal. But at the same time, the transfer portal is made both of these sports incredible. They are the best that they've ever been. I still see people complaining, but why? What in the world do you have to complain about? Did you watch yesterday? Do you see some of the scores, some of the results, the CFP tournament? I mean, there you go. The parity plane has landed. I missed on Nebraska Troy yesterday. I think I'm trying to remember. I'm tied for third, but let's see. The leader, well, how'd the leader do yesterday? I'm looking in our pool. I see there's one. They missed the Ohio State game, and they missed the Wisconsin game as I did. I didn't get who was going to hit that. That was their only misses. Nice day. That means they go 14-2. That's a good start. Good start. Let's see, who are the tricky ones they had? Yeah, they had VCU like I did. They had Texas A&M. That's one I did not have. I think I've got St. Louis going on in the next round as well. Oh, I didn't realize Arkansas played yesterday, but they get by Hawaii. Hey, that's my dark horse team that I don't have picked to make the Final Four. There's watch out, man. They've got some good play. I hate it, it's John Calipari, but hey, got to recognize what it is, man. Yeah, Badgers melted down, Uncle Phil. You're not lying. Nobody melted down like North Carolina did. Holy smokes. gave up a 19-point lead. So, yeah, someone just said, Fred, that some North Carolina folks want a new coach already. Well, hell, they wanted a new coach before this. Kentucky fans, they're in the same place. They're not happy. They're screaming, they're yelling. Syracuse. It's not just Indiana. Now, those are different situations. They haven't been toiling for years and years. But something else I thought yesterday when I was watching some of these teams play and loved watching the offense of St. Louis, for example. Holy cow, that ball was whipping around, movement. VCU, fun to watch. I think that's what Indiana fans are gonna see once Darren DeVries and Drew Adams and crew get the guys in place. Transfer portal opens up April 7, baby. Alec Lasley's going to join me next. We'll talk more about all of this. While March Madness is happening, head out to Dave & Buster's in Bloomington. They've got 10 wings for $10 on championship night. You got $5 domestic lime margaritas. Thursdays are college night. Students get a free $10 power card with their ID. And coming soon, Matt Taylor from the Colts and Indiana Sports Trivia Nights on Thursdays at Dave & Buster's in Bloomington. Tuesdays are for teachers. They get a free $10 power card. 15% off of non-alcoholic food and beverage as well. They've got an incredibly, surprisingly good menu of food. You don't think that you're going to get a great meal at at a gaming place? You are going to be surprised. Stop in 731 South College Mall Road. Tell them you heard it on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. More coming up right after we take a pause for the cause.
Indiana football accomplished what no other team ever has. Big Ten, Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, and CFP national champions. The Hoosiers have etched their name into the history books as the first 16-0 team in the modern era. A limited edition of only 5,000 commemorative national championship footballs has been released. 3 full panels embossed and stamped with every championship logo and fully licensed. Get your piece of history today at NICOsports.com. That's NIKCOSPORTS.com.
Welcome back. Appreciate you being with us. Alec Lasley set to join us in here. Alec, how are you doing, sir?
Doing well. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm fantastic, baby. It's Fantastic Friday, but I'm jacked because yesterday was awesome. Watching the first round of the NCAA tournament. Upset. I don't know to call these upsets anymore, Alec. I mean, these teams are just too. Yeah, they're not. If I don't know. Could they go through the grind of the conference of these teams? Maybe not. But on a given day, man, these teams are lining up chest to chest, and it doesn't matter who they are, where they've come from. St. Louis, perfect example. I heard Charles Barkley yesterday. Now, St. Louis scores like 1,000 points a game. That's their norm. And they were beating Georgia like the devil went down to Georgia, baby. I mean, they were up like 40 or something, weren't they, Alec? It's at one point.
Yeah, I mean, they ended up winning by like, I think 25 or 30.
Yeah, but I think Georgia chipped about 20 points off of that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Let's be honest, that game was over in the first 10 minutes. The way that St. Louis just their passing, their ball movement, their defensive ability.
Thing right before you joined, I said, you watch that and you're like, wow, I'll tell you what it reminded me of, and it might upset Indiana fans. This was what I saw with the Indiana team at the start of the year. As far as the ball movement, the offense, the quickness, the difficulty to guard. And that went away, I think, because of fatigue, lack of they didn't have the player, number of players to run it, to do all the things they need to do. But watching that, I'm like, that's what I think Indiana fans are going to see in the future. I really do, because it's a similar style to what Darren DeVries tries to do, but it was fun. And these are the guys that were at Indiana State years ago. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Nerd, and crew. I was talking earlier. I was shocked last year that Josh Schertz didn't get a bigger bump from Indiana State to a bigger school than St. Louis. And I'm like, well, that's not a great move. He knew what he was doing, because now he's put himself in a position where this is the one that's going to be the stepping stone, because he's doubled down and he's doing it again this year.
Well, I don't even know if he's necessarily using this as a stepping stone. I mean, he just signed a long-term deal when he was obviously one of the hottest names. He has been for 2-3 straight seasons from the mid-major non-power conference level. And look, I mean, so many coaches are so quick to just jump to the new shiny thing. I mean, we see it obviously with players all the time, and we see how many times it fails for coaches, more so than players, right? And I think he's found not only his perfect level, but he understands that he can. It's easier than ever to build a powerhouse in college basketball than it's ever been, and that can be at a Power 5 program or Power 4 program. That can be at a mid-major, right? It just depends on if the coach wants to stay. I think you see with more so now than the last couple of years, the transfer portal is going to be smaller, not from an impact player perspective, but from a depth perspective. I think you're going to start seeing more guys, quote unquote, re-sign with their current programs because a lot of these programs now are getting better NIL from whomever it may be, from boosters from around their programs. And I think a lot of these guys are now seeing that, yeah, they can go play for, a power program, be on the bubble and play, 11 minutes a game, or you can go potentially win your conference tournament, potentially go, win 30 games in the regular season and average 18 to 20 a game and be the go-to player on your team and have the chance to play in the NCAA tournament. And I think a lot of guys are starting to see that, yeah, you can go out and take the money, but at the same time, this is still, this is not like the NBA where you could have a 10-year, potential career. You have 4 years to do whatever you want to do at the college level. And I think the college pull, and not so much the amateur feel, because it's not, truly amateur athletics anymore, but that amateur feel of doing it for the love of the game, I think is starting to come back a little bit. And I think you're going to see that this transfer cycle and next transfer cycle as things begin to kind of even out and level out. But look, I think you're now seeing it with a lot of the mid majors, right? Whether it's the Miami, which, we can talk about that a little bit later, but I mean, they look phenomenal. I think it helped that they hit almost every single three that they took, but still they look terrific in that game. But you're starting to see mid majors now be able to compete, and you're starting to see power conferences not want to play these mid majors in the non-conference schedule. And I think
they've never wanted to, because they've never wanted.
Well, they've never wanted to, because it never would have helped them. Now they never want to, because they don't want to add a loss. Exactly, scared. Because they know that they can lose. And I think it was the High Point coach yesterday after they beat Wisconsin, who said, power programs never wanted to play him, and now
they always say that. And I'm not saying it's not true. It possibly is, but guess what? They don't really need to just keep doing it the way you're doing it. But the transfer portal has made college athletics the best it's ever been. There's so much complaining about it, but there has never, the last 2 seasons of college football, the last 2 seasons, I already know this is going to be spectacular. But what I see is pretty similar to football. I still think there are only a short list of teams that can win the national championship. I think that list it's less than what's on. We've got the metrics of the Ken Palm thing there, where the top 21 of offensive efficiency and top 31 of defensive efficiency being in one of those. I think there are only like 8 teams or maybe 10 that fit that criteria, and instantly I saw 2 and I'm like, they got no shot. So there's only 6 teams that have a shot to win the title, really. But that's what I think it is. Everything else below that, there are really good teams, but those really good teams are very susceptible to these other teams that have guys that are playing with pride, that are probably playing harder than the teams they're playing against because they've got a chip on their shoulder. Just like so we watched Indiana football do, but these guys are playing with that same chip, and buddy, that's hard to keep up for 40 minutes when you're not used to that.
Well, I mean, look at what I think both Caden Boozer and Malik Brown, said similar things, but at Duke in that Siena game yesterday. But Malik Brown at halftime, a guy who has been in college for multiple years, supposed to be your veteran leader, goes at halftime and is talking to, I think it was Tracy Wolfson, and says, "We thought that this would be a cakewalk." I've never heard.
Who said that?
Malik Brown for Duke at halftime.
Oh.
Yesterday. I've never heard that from anyone in the middle of a game. And then Caden Boozer at the end of the game in the locker room, I saw a quote, I can't remember who put it out there, who said it was a video of Caden Boozer, and he said that they thought that this was just going to be handed to them. I was absolutely shocked, and I mean, you could see it on the floor. They clearly, but look, and obviously it's not going to happen because Ohio State lost, but I thought, and in my bracket, I had Ohio State beating Duke because I don't think this Duke team is anywhere near what they were without Caleb Foster. Patrick Gumba is a significant loss as well, but Caleb Foster, his ability to kind of level the ship a little bit offensively, a guy who really came on this year after multiple years in that program. I don't see the veteran leadership when they need a stop or when they need a bucket. Look, let's say it for what it is. If Siena made 1 or 2 more shots, if they made 1 or 2 more subs, they would have won that game. That is how bad Duke played. Siena didn't score, I think, for 6 straight minutes, and it was still a 2-possession game. That is how bad Duke played, and really how good Siena's game plan was for 35 minutes of that game. And it goes back to your point where, yes, these teams are obviously the 5 or 6, 7, however many you want to include in there that are good enough to win a national championship, are just more pure skill and talent than these other teams. But if they don't come to play, I think we're seeing more parity in college basketball than we ever have, with the ability for a 16 seed to stay in the game, not necessarily win, right, but to stay in the game for as long as they do, or a lot of these 11s or 12s or 13s or 14 seeds, right, win games and stay competitive for the majority of the game, multiple years and multiple games in a row now, and so it's creating a lot more energy around the NCAA tournament, which I don't think it ever needed to have more energy, right? But I think just the amount of potential games that can go either way now, and the amount of close games. There weren't a lot of blowouts yesterday, which I think probably in the last couple of years, I don't know if we've had that many close games going down to the wire that we had yesterday. And more so, just not even that many blowouts. Obviously, there were some games, even that Louisville USF game, it was a blowout for 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and then USF came back and made it a game.
VCU was down 19.
Yeah.
I know they were down 18 with 12 minutes to go.
Yeah, I mean, that was the largest comeback in the first round of the NCAA tournament ever. And look, so now you have so many teams that are able to to get back in, scratch and claw their way
That
back
was the
in.
quintessential March Madness game, the VCU North Carolina game.
I disagree. I think it
big
was the Wisconsin High Point game, because that was just
that's another one. That's another
legitimate.
one.
Like the Carolina VCU game was absolutely horrendous for a large majority of that second half, with Carolina's inability to score, VCU's inability to really do anything there than to start overtime. High Point in Wisconsin, that was high level freaking basketball. I mean, that when you look at what Indiana needs in the portal, granted, obviously Wisconsin lost, but Nick Boyd, his ability to just make big time play after big time play, John Blackwell, big time play, big time shot after big time shot. Nolan Winter hit some big time shots there. Obviously, they end up losing the game because of Chase Johnson, who gets his first 2-point field goal of the entire season on that runaway layup, which was just incredible in itself. But look, I mean, we've had some really fun games. I think we're going to get some more, obviously, today, and it starts with a game that a lot of people obviously will have some eyes on with Kentucky and Santa Clara.
Absolutely. So you mentioned in the games you got to watch, I had to go back and watch. Hell, I was watching that VCU game again at 1 a.m. It was just, and I know the result, but I hate knowing results of things that I haven't watched. But this was weird. I knew the result, but I'm watching it as I hadn't seen the game. It was just that enthralling. It was awesome. But so far of these, have you seen any particular players that might fit into what Indiana is wanting to do? Like I said, St. Louis looks like what Indiana is wanting to do with the style, kind of offensively, but a lot of guys out there. I mean, the VCU guy. Oh, what's the dude for VCU? That's Caitlin Clark logo shooting.
Oh, Harris.
Yeah, busting. I'm like, wow. It was just fun. But what players have kind of popped for you?
I mean, from an Indiana standpoint, obviously the transfer portal doesn't open up for another couple of weeks. There's going to be tons and tons of players, obviously, still to enter. There's mostly just kind of low major players at this point. I think you're going to have to wait a while, to really see a full, true kind of selection of players for Indiana, because I think
no doubt.
Two things. One, that this team is going to now go back heavy into high major experience. I don't think they're going to rely now on 10, 11, 12 mid-major guys. There will obviously be some mid-major guys on this program and on this team next year, but that's not going to be the reliance like it was this past offseason. So that's number one. So you're probably going to have to wait a little bit longer. Number two is and again, I think we may have talked about this before. I had some early kind of insight and intel up on the site yesterday about kind of where Indiana is looking to go. And from some of the people that I've talked to, it's definitely more hinging on perimeter.
By the site he's talking about, the Hoosier.com, part of the On3 network. Alec is the managing editor there. So, sounds like you've got some early inside intel on the site there. So that's cool.
Yep, absolutely. But the two positions, again, that I think, based off of some early conversations, are going to really revolve around scoring point guards, which is not anything crazy to think of. But I do think Indiana is probably going to stretch its budget a little bit on a scoring point guard this year. I think you see, again, we just talked about a guy like Nick Boyd in the transfer portal last year, but you look at the teams in college basketball today, and it revolves around guard play, and it revolves around scoring point guards. And everyone wants to think right back to the traditional back to the basket bigs and pass first point guards. Neither of those really exist anymore. And
I didn't see any of those playing in the games I'm watching yesterday.
Yeah,
everything
and if they did, they probably
everything
didn't
I
win.
saw that it was moving so fast. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, the games today. But go ahead. It was
Yeah, but so that's one, right? I definitely, again, based off this conversation, think Indiana will look to pay extra for that type of point guard. in that type of scoring punch in the backcourt, and they're going to be getting more athletic and bigger and more versatile on the perimeter. Those are two areas where, again, you can mask a lot of deficiencies in the front court if you have quicker, more physical, and more athletic perimeter players and backcourt players. Because again, if you don't have strong perimeter play defensively, then of course it's going to bring massive holes into your defensive system. And Indiana didn't have that, so it brought and heightened that front court play even more, and the deficiency there. So I think you're really gonna see a strong emphasis on that. You're still obviously going to see more depth and more kind of versatility from a front court perspective in terms of what they can do physicality wise, but it's going to start and end with the backcourt and the perimeter. Is my assumption here going into the transfer portal for Indiana, because that's the way that you win games, and that's the way that if a team like Wisconsin, right, a traditionally slower, back to the basket, not very athletic team, even Iowa to a certain extent is starting to trend in that direction, is starting to make the shift from two bigs who are back to the basket, multiple kind of slower, rugged perimeter players to athletes on the perimeter and scoring guards in the backcourt. You need to be able to make that shift with them, because that's obviously something that they've been able to recognize. Two historically, slower and more rugged teams from like a Ben McCollum standpoint, and then obviously Greg Gard, and even going back to Bo Ryan a little bit. That's one thing that I think Indiana is obviously going to emphasize and prioritize this offseason. And so don't get too worried if there's not a lot of front court names right away, and think that it's going back into next year, because the priority is going to be really bulking up the depth from a scoring and playmaking perspective in the backcourt.
Yesterday, the Big Ten goes 4-2 with only one of those, an upset with Wisconsin going down. And Wisconsin played well in that game, and they had been playing well. And that kind of sucks, because they're a team that they could have been an Elite Eight team. But that's what's great about this tournament. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. But that's what I hate to see, because I'd like to see them go forward. But is what it is. Ohio State coin flip, 8-9 game. Ohio State's the 8 in that. They lose to the number 9 seed TCU by a bucket. And by the way, over the last 7+ seasons, the 9 seeds are 19-10. That should be like a coin toss. It should be a 51-49 kind of deal, but some disparity there, which is kind of odd, but just a little throw that in. I don't have, I'll have to figure out how the other conferences went today, but 3 more Big Ten teams in action today. We'll get to enjoy that. But what else stood out to you about yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I think just from a team perspective, right, Nebraska won. They get their first win in the NCAA tournament in program history, but they got back to the old Nebraska of earlier this year. That was a team that I thought had Final Four potential back in January. That really struggled the second half of the conference schedule, but they looked healthy. They looked quick. They looked a lot like that team of the first couple months there that was undefeated for so long going into Big Ten play. That was number one. I think obviously from my perspective, I think the play of Texas is a team now that they had a phenomenal matchup with NC State and then BYU in terms of what they were going to be able to do skill wise and kind of versatility and bringing a lot of different athletes on the perimeter there. Really, really good matchups for both of those games that they were able to get by. I think that's something that I'm going to continue to watch, and potentially Texas continues to move forward. They look like one of the better teams now that has a couple games under their belt to kind of be maybe one of those play-in teams that go on a run. And then I think, look, you got to look at what St. Louis did, and I think still going up against, right? I think I believe they play Michigan next. It's going to be obviously a tough one, but it's going to be a very, very fun matchup with their ability to score the ball. Probably not a lot of defense going to be played in that one, so that should be a fun game to watch. And then I still do think, like I said earlier, I had Ohio State beating TCU, and I had Ohio State beating Duke. I think TCU can still beat Duke. I think that 8-9 matchup was probably one of the more difficult for Duke at currently constructed without Caleb Foster and without Patrick Gumba. TCU is a very, very physical team, and I think at times you can out-physical and push Duke around, especially Caden Boozer. It looks at times that, both him and Cam Boozer are a little bit, I don't want to say weak around the basket, right? But they sometimes struggle with a little bit more length and athleticism and kind of ruggedness. So I think you're going to see that, especially with TCU. But they have the ability to shoot the ball like we saw in that first matchup. And I think if they can just do kind of half of what they did shooting the ball against Ohio State, should be a really, really fun matchup, because I think that front court is going to cause Duke some fits, especially without some of the depth that they have up front now.
Yeah, and the injury bug is getting to them. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com with On 3 with me. Make sure you go there, get signed up. If not, you are missing out on the inside intel that's there right now in regards to the basketball program, and much more coming. We've got more coming as well. We'll be right back with it after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming, or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games every Sunday through Thursday, a new menu to dig into, and next-level upgrades like private game suites, the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington, 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. Glad to have you along. It's going to be a great weekend. The NCAA tournament is rolling. Jim Coyle here and Alec Lasley joining me from thehoosier.com on 3. If you're not a subscriber, you are missing out on the best coverage for Indiana athletics. And we're talking inside information, football and basketball. And that's about to start breaking loose with basketball, and a lot coming up once we get a couple weeks, really, because nothing's going to happen until it's like the transfer portal it's like the starting gate and every of the New York City Marathon or the Boston Marathon. Everybody's at that starting gate, and when that gun goes off, you're amongst just 1,000 people in this bunch of people, and you're all trying to run. And that's what I see the portal is like. It's like turning all of these people loose at once when the gun goes off, and boy, you're out there running everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, we're obviously seeing more and more back channeling through agents now. So it's almost like NBA free agency, right? Where you kind of
I
have.
understand the back channeling, but how is there back channeling prior to the portal opening? Why would you be talking to an agent that? How do you know that someone's going to go into the portal?
It's agents more or less kind of reaching out because they know that their client and that player is going to enter the portal. I mean,
So how would that not be considered a form of tampering,
because you're
self-tampering?
not it's more or less it's not the coach talking to the agent, right? This is why
I
you
get it,
have
but it's back
this
channeling
is
tampering.
yeah, but I
I
mean, it
don't think that
happens.
should be allowed prior to the date
Why
being
not?
open.
Why
Prior
not? They
to the
do it with
date opening,
coaches. They do it with coaches all the time. So
I
you
don't
don't
think
think
it should be allowed. I don't think
wow.
that should be allowed. I
So
don't think
then I guess
until there's
go back to you working in just a corporate job, right?
see
You
that's what
interview.
it takes. It takes someone to remind you of that stuff because we put sports in a different box than the rest of the world, and you can't do that. It was in a different box for all these years, and we're still so used to that. And even me, and I understand, I'm behind what's going on. It's making the sports great, but I still forget exactly what you're talking about. It's the
And
open market, man.
yeah, and I think to a certain extent it's a little bit more disingenuous to do it if you're the team going to another player, right? From that perspective. But I think if you're the agent going to teams and saying, hey, we're going to think about, entering the portal, right? Is this someone that one you'd have interest in, or two, kind of, what
Well,
you're looking
every
for?
player should be thinking about entering the portal, being realistic. If we're being realistic, unless they're at the top, one of the guys at the top, the one percenters, I guess you would say.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, yeah, yes and no, right? I mean, let's you should really only be, and this is where again I think the transfer portal and NIL really took off, obviously at the same time, and NIL really was the reason the transfer portal became such kind of a crapshoot of what it was, because so many people were just saying, hey, I can pay you more, and that's all they were doing. Now kids are starting to realize again that yeah, okay, I can go make money, but I can also make money here, maybe be a little bit less, but play a lot more. And let's be honest, all these kids have, a desire to play at the next level. Maybe that's not the NBA, right? But whether it's the G League, whether it's overseas, there's so many leagues now where if you're playing and you're a good enough player, you're going to find a spot somewhere in the world.
let me tell you, Jack Goki. Do you people remember that name? Jack Goki. Alec, tell them who Jack Goki is.
I mean, there's.
He's
I
the
don't know.
guy that 2 years ago.
No. I know, but I don't even know where he's.
Kentucky.
I know he played for.
He's just
he played
been bouncing
for
around.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
reason I
'cause I
brought
don't
him
know
up,
where
he's been able to bounce around. This is a guy that was playing basically NIA ball, and now he's able to play professionally. And had what he did against Kentucky 2 years ago, he knocked down 10 3-pointers himself in knocking off Kentucky. But that's what I'm talking about. He got Gokied. Gosh, I wish I could remember. There was a video of a guy that used to do that. He would scream. He'd do the highlights, and oh my gosh, that one was the greatest I've ever seen in my life. If I could find it, I would replay it. It makes you laugh. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just looked it up because I had no idea where he was playing now. But yeah, he bounced around, went to the G League, went to Mexico, and then as of last year, I guess this fall, was in Brazil. But again, that just kind of, if he bounced around, let's say he had the type of obviously performance he did, and he still had a year of eligibility remaining, that'd be a guy that a lot of people would want, right? And that would be a guy who probably could have made the jump to another level because of that shooting ability. Probably wouldn't have played that much, and probably wouldn't have had the success then at the next level of playing, in multiple different leagues for now 2 or 3 years. But my point is that a lot of these guys, if you don't have tape and you don't have film and you don't have anything to show, right, it's going to be difficult to continue to make that jump up to the next level, because you obviously need to play to be able to continue to make money. And so a lot of these guys, I think, are looking at their current situations and they want to be the guy and they want to continue to play rather than ride the bench. And there's only, let's be honest, about 7 guys that really, move the needle for teams. You go to the 6th man and then you probably go one more off of the bench because there's always injuries and that guy needs to step up. If you're the 8th guy in a regular rotation, you're not really providing a whole lot of value and you're not playing a whole bunch, especially this time of year. Rotations shorten because timeouts lengthen. You get more timeouts. You get TV timeouts that are thrown in, and then you get an extra 5 minutes at halftime in the NCAA tournament. So a lot of these teams aren't going that deep. So if you're not going to be playing in the most critical moments of the season, what are you really doing? And so again, I look at a guy like, a perfect example is like Josiah Miles for Indiana. Guy who was averaging about 16 a game at North Florida last year, comes to Indiana, obviously loses any playing time for the majority of the season, then makes his way back in the second half of Big Ten play. That's a decision where I talked a little bit about this in the story that's up on the Hoosier.com, but that's a decision, right, where obviously he earned the coach's trust. He's an athletic wing. He's a guy that, found his way back into the rotation. Some coaches want that back, but are you going to be able to retain some of these players who maybe you want in the back end of your rotation for the price point that the player wants? And that's the biggest thing. Like a guy like Nick Dorn too, think he proved this year that he would be a valuable player off the bench. But going into last year, there was a lot of talk that he wanted, to be a starter. He wanted to be, a guy that would be relied on heavily. And let's be honest, outside of 4 games, he could not be relied on. So are these players going to be able to be okay with potentially taking, quote unquote pay cut for a lesser role at a bigger program? Or do they want to take a jump back to maybe a lesser known program or a program that, may want to throw a bunch of money at them and play a lot more, right? That's the dilemma that a lot of these guys are obviously going to be in now. That's going to be the struggle for, the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, once the transfer portal opens, that they're going to have to make, because especially if you wait a little bit too long to make your decision, 1 or 2 spots, right, can get sucked up in a second, and then your potential opportunity there is gone. So it's going to be a crazy, once again, crazy time. But I think you're going to see less depth from guys trying to make the jump from the mid-major to the Power 5 level, Power 4 level. I think you're going to see more power program players making the jump there. But I think you're going to see less mid-major guys going up a level this year.
Really? That's going to be amazing because of NIL, and like you said, and we've seen the costs for these price tags continue year over year go up like nothing else in the business world. I mean, these aren't, if it was a car barely maybe go up a little bit. Boy, these NIL price tags from 4 years ago, first we were all in less than $1 million, and then it seemed like it doubled the next year, and then it seemed like it doubled again. That cannot continue. I get that, but where's the line? Where's the correction point? Of course, you don't know that until you hit the correction point, and it starts to make that correction. But we're not there yet. If what dadgummit, who was it? Who turned down reportedly? Oh, Yaxel Lindenberg board.
Well,
he said that. He said. You don't believe it?
I don't believe that.
Why would he say that to the AP and be?
Well, he's a guy. He's a guy that has talked a lot this year. He likes the attention. He likes being that kind of guy. But look, I've never the most I've heard is close to like 4.5.
Yeah,
like,
I have a hard time believing a lot of these high numbers. I'm just not buying that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think the big thing, could it be 7 to 9 million? Sure, but like the quote unquote NIL salary per se is going to be a lot lower. A lot of these teams now, again, are throwing, potential endorsement deals together that could then boost that up to a higher level. But when you look at true NIL, there's no way that would have been the actual number, because that anyone would have been, in my opinion. I mean, maybe he had a really good agent and said, hey, you go to Michigan, you're going to make that money back by getting a higher draft stock by being the guy. But look, I think it's, as a 20-year-old, if you told me I could make $9 million, I don't know of anyone who's not going to take that.
That's double what a first-round NBA draft.
That's my point. Obviously, when you get to the NBA, the whole point is to stay there and get your second contract and be able to last long. That's where you make your money. It's not the first contract. But that I find it hard to believe that is truly the number, because it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
5 Lefts on the message board says, Alec is a little more serious these days. I think he's in Fight Club. I think it's just the hairstyle, man. But he does have that. He's all tatted up below there from his neck down. I'm just kidding. I doubt you have a single tattoo, do you?
Correct.
As do I. I'm not judging. It's. I think Indiana fans should be excited personally. I think that with this staff, with the head start that they're going to have now, not being behind like they were last year, it's going to be, they know what they need exactly. Ryan Carr, you've got that addition. I think Scott Dolson and Pam Whitten, but Scott Dolson knows he's got to not pay more attention to basketball right now, but he's got to get basketball turned around. And it's not as easy as people think. It's not just about money. It's about getting the right team, the right coach. All the things have to go together. I think Indiana has the best staff they've had in so long. I don't even know how long. From a recruiting standpoint, it's unbelievable. But the recruiting aspect is not quite as big as it used to be. Now, when they start landing a 5-star here and there, or quote one and done, which those there are not a lot of those, but those are legit when they come around, and or ones that you definitely would like to have. But what's up next for you at thehoosier.com?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a big shift to the portal. But football side, spring practice begins this week. So first look at obviously the new group of guys, and then obviously pro day for Indiana, not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after. So we'll get it's a busy, next kind of 3.5 to 4 weeks before a little bit of a break. And then you get right into summer ball, AAU, and everything like that. So deep dives into everything Indiana football, and then we'll slowly start to ramp up a little bit of that portal coverage here once some names get confirmed and we're able to start putting some of that stuff out.
Make sure you head over to the Hoosier.com and be a subscriber. It is the place and the source for inside news for Indiana athletics. Appreciate you, sir. Have a great weekend. How's your bracket?
Terrible.
Yeah.
Like it always is. Too much overthinking.
I went 11-5 yesterday.
Well, I had Wisconsin to the Final Four.
I didn't have that.
Well, live and you learn. But on to the next one.
Back with more. Zach Osterman. Right after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games every Sunday through Thursday, a new menu to dig into, and next-level upgrades like private game suites, the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington, 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. It is Friday, baby. And on top of that, it's going to be nice out. The temperatures are warming up. The NCAA tournament is underway, and it's been great already. It's going to be 76 yesterday, 77 today. Sunshine, baby. Holy moly, look at this weekend. 77 on Saturday, of course, here in central Indiana. I'm sure it's going to be similar to where most of you are. 84 on Sunday. 84. Was it less than a week ago we were at 13 degrees? Unbelievable. But, yeah. But guess what? Don't get too excited. That the day that the high is 84, the low is going to be 38. What the hell? The next day is a 34-degree drop again. What are we doing? Man, there are going to be some people getting sick. But, hey, this weekend's going to be incredible. Enjoy the heck out of it. Of course, boy, you kind of want to be in watching some hoops. But yeah, the Big 12 went 3-0 yesterday in the opening. That means they've got 5 teams to play today. So that will be fun to watch. Arizona is my team to pick to win it all. They've got 5 starters averaging in double figures. And that I just think hey, they can be beat. They're not undefeated, but Kentucky coach Mark Pope spent the eve of the Wildcats tournament game against Santa Clara, which takes place right now, actually. For those of you listening on radio, it is happening. The Yaxel Lindenborg offer came up that we talked about a minute ago. Lindenborg, told the AP that he turned down an offer from Kentucky for whatever that $7 to $9 million range. Now, this was not rumor. He said it. Not saying it's not true, but he said it. He was at UAB, and this story was published on Monday. Stated the number with Kentucky was $7 to $9 million, and the implication was they were pretty much going off on the route like, we'll pay him anything to get here. I believe that because Kentucky, Kentucky fans, like Indiana fans, they want to stay where they had been. They're gone. They're not there. And do you know why? Well, part of it is they had a coaching change. John Calipari had a bigger ability to get bigger players, but also this is a different era. They offered a guy from UAB $7 to $9 million, and he turned it down? It's crazy. It's hard to believe. But, and Lindenborg said the reason that he turned it down was because he chose to play for Dusty May for 3 times less money. If that is true, any of you that think that this is just about the money, no, these guys, they're going to get paid, but they also want to win. So they'll probably trade getting paid for a little more winning. Asked point blank yesterday about the offer, Pope began as if he would answer in a simply direct manner. But then the coach segued into a dissertation on the state of the media and about the circus that comes with Kentucky. And eventually Pope seemed to imply that what Linderborg said was inaccurate. I know that you guys have to come out of here with a headline. I'm not going to give it to you, Pope said. But I would appreciate it if some segment of the media is like, let's actually search for, like, I don't know, I'm trying not to make a commentary on it. What the hell is he talking about? Say it's not true if it's not true. I mean, you got no onions? Somebody called you out, just say it's not true if it's not true. So, I don't know. Since he didn't deny it straight out, and if it were not true, I believe it now. I also think that Kentucky doesn't want to admit it because they don't want to acknowledge, much like the SEC in football, that even though they're one of the programs that has this unbelievable historic mystique, it no longer matters in this day and age. Coaching has become very important in basketball. Not that it wasn't important before, but I mean, they are really mixing the NIL and the successful coaching. And these successful coaches are not just the legends like it used to be. It's Dusty Mays. It's the younger and upper coming guy, Josh Hurts. It's these young up and coming guys. These guys are going. All those guys that were at Indiana State, they could have gone elsewhere. They didn't have to go to St. Louis. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had offers, baby. Larry Nerd could have moved on. Nope. Went on to St. Louis, and look what they're doing. VCU has won 21 out of their last 22 games. Do you know who their only loss was since January? St. Louis. St. Louis was up by like 40 on Georgia. They were just crushing them. And the last 2 or 3 minutes, it's like they waved the white flag and Georgia was hitting 3 points, and they really cut it down to 25. They cut it down to 25. How funny is that? But they were scoring a ton of points, and someone mentioned that, and Chuck, and I love him, but our man Charles Barkley said, "But they good, but they're not that good. I'm really disappointed in Georgia allowing that many points." And somebody said, "Well, that's what St. Louis does. That's what they score." He goes, "Well, I understand, but they're not that good." And everybody else said, "Well, they are today." And it's just like watching Miami University. I'm going to give them the same. I'm going to give them the same love that Jalen Rose did. Start calling them Miami University. They should. If I was their PR department, drop the Ohio. Make people call you Miami University. The Hurricanes are the University of Miami. So, trust me, there's enough confusion in the world. People can figure it out. Queens College is in North Carolina, not New York. So, we can figure it out. But man, there's so much fun. I love it. I love seeing it. I love watching teams that I don't get to see during the year that I would not have watched. You know, I'm not. I didn't have time to watch Siena play games, St. Louis play games, because there's too many other games that I have to watch. But man, there's good stuff going on out there. James says he doesn't understand how Dayton beat him. Well, you know, stuff like that happens. That's the good deal, or that's the thing. Now we've got let's see, the other two number one seeds in action today. What is on the schedule for today? Get down there. Let's see. All right. Tournament schedule. Today's, of course, that was yesterday. I think Kentucky kicks it off where they're playing right now. Texas Tech and Akron also going at it. I have picked the Zips in this. Texas Tech is hurt. I think that, well, I know they're very susceptible. It doesn't mean they're going to lose. They're still a 7.5 point favorite, but Akron has been playing well. Arizona plays today, or right now. Let's see, Virginia, Iowa State, Alabama. I have them picked, but I would love to see them get knocked off. Villanova, Utah State, man. Another 8-9 game. Miami of Ohio versus Tennessee this afternoon. I'd love to see them get by Tennessee and beat an SEC team along the way, and listen to Bruce Pearl stammer on. You know what he said about Miami when they won their tournament game the other day? Without question, emphatically. Well, congratulations. They got their first quad one win of the year. Well, Brucey boy, why don't you have your son schedule St. Louis? That's part of their problem. They can't get these teams to play them. If you think that's an issue, have your you since you got your son the job and you openly acknowledged breaking state laws in doing so, nepotism laws, why not set his schedule for him? These teams that don't have quad one wins, you should be picking them up. Yeah. Well, they got a quad one win emphatically. And that's another thing. All of these mid-major teams that are winning, and when the coaches are getting interviewed, they talk about it. They can't get these teams to play them during the season. And I'm not sure that we're going to see that change as coaches see the success of these teams. Nope. They don't want any part of that, because if they're playing them, it's going to be in the early part of the season. Generally the first 10, 12 games. And that's most games scheduled in there for, let's say, Indiana are going to be against 200 and 100 Ken Palm teams. They want to start their season. They want it's I don't want to call them exhibition games, but they're tune-up games for the conference. Now there are a couple of other bigger non-con games in that. Now you've got Kentucky starting next year. Holy smokes, people. The renewal of the Kentucky series. I forgot about that. Comes next season. Russell, I don't know if Zach's going to make it. He was scheduled to be on, but something could have come up. Let's see. What else am I looking forward to today? Clemson, Iowa. That should be a good game. There's your another 8-9 toss-up. Iowa is the 9 seed, and I picked them, but I've had this bad feeling that Clemson was going to win. St. John's, 5-12 matchup. I don't think we're going to see the upset there, but you never do think you're going to. UCLA in action today. I think they're susceptible, man. They're without one of their big guys. The UCF, Central Florida, not exactly a cakewalk. And then Queens University, as opposed to Queens College. Queens University from North Carolina. See, I've never even heard of Queens University. I cannot believe in this day and age, as long as I've done this, been around, I've never heard of Queens University. But most people hadn't. Crazy. The number one Florida Gators take on Prairie View A&M. Not expecting that to be much, but we saw the number one struggle yesterday. Kansas, California Baptist. I don't think California Baptist has what it takes to beat Kansas, but I have Kansas losing in either the next game or the game after. UConn in action today against Furman. Miami, Missouri. That should be a fun game. I've got Miami picked to go on, maybe to the Elite Eight. I can't remember, but Malik Renew playing really well for the Hurricanes. He is giving them a very, very tool, a great tool that can be used in so many ways. I mean, he's shooting threes better now. He's still playing in the paint. He's got a body. He's got experience. Solid player. And that should make that a fun game. We've got more coming up. Bill Bender's going to join us on the program today. Up next, appreciate you being with us. Back with more right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's number one Honda dealer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave & Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our all-new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch all your team's wins on a 40-foot screen and 30 HD TVs. And level up with the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game. Private game suites, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's on 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. Glad to have you along for the ride. And I'm going to address this one last time. Man, this is something I said back during December when Notre Dame turned down, when they did not get the invite to the CFP, rightfully so. Now, and when I say rightfully so, were they a better team than James Madison and whoever the other? I can't even remember who the other team was. But yeah, but those teams had a slot in. Those are the rules. So that did not affect Notre Dame. Notre Dame not getting in came down to Miami. And guess what? They lost to Miami. Miami made it to the national championship game. Obviously, they deserve to be in over Notre Dame. Now, because Notre Dame didn't get invited to the CFP and whined and cried and just whined and cried and whined so much that now they have the sweetest deal of anybody. All they have to do is win 10 games. They make their own schedule. And like last year, a third of their schedule was against the last place teams of the three other Power Four conferences. Fact. Now, they chose they wouldn't play in a bowl game. Fine, I don't care. But I think it's just shows that we're taking our toys and going home. Indiana did not deserve to make it into the NCAA tournament this year. They weren't complaining about not being in the NCAA tournament this year. Secondly, they can't play in the NIT. Well, they could if they weren't one of the first two teams that did not make the NCAA tournament, which they were. Hence, that requires them to play in the Crown tournament, which is set up by Fox, and it's a group deal between the Big Ten, the Big 12, the ACC. If you decline that offer, you cannot play in the NIT. Now, first of all, football and basketball, apples to oranges. You're not even talking about the same thing. And if I have to explain that to those who keep sending messages in regards to that, I don't know what to tell you. We're not talking about the same thing. This is not 1985. It is the changes are meteoric and they're different. Nobody wanted to see Indiana play more basketball. Nobody wanted to see that team play more. It's not hypocritical. And on top of that, they didn't really have a team. Once the season was ended, those seniors, they're gone. Indiana doesn't need a basketball team that only will have basically 3 guys, maybe 4 guys coming back. That one's injured, one didn't play at all hardly, and the other one lost minutes. The resources are better served setting your sights for next year. The portal opens, and this is 2 different things. This is a bad basketball team. Or they're not bad, I'm sorry. They're just and slightly above average basketball team. Notre Dame was an elite football team. Again, apples to oranges. I don't know why. I don't know if it's Notre Dame fans that are responding like this, but Notre Dame did not deserve to get in. I'm going to call it the 10, because 2 of those slots are taken by teams who don't deserve it to be in it. Sorry, they don't. Said it over and over. Now, again, would we rather have seen Notre Dame in over one of those 2? Yes, but that was not available. So that leaves 10 slots. There was not a single team in those 10 slots that they deserve to be in over. And please tell me who they deserve to be in over. Let's start with Miami. Nope, they lost. Let's go to Texas A&M. Nope, they lost at home to them. Your wins were against A third of them were against the last place teams of Power 4 conferences. You play the service academies, and you beat USC, a slightly better than average Big Ten team. But yet, because it says Notre Dame, we're supposed to walk in like the sweetheart deal they have now. Just go 10-2. That's all they have to do. Now, that sounds difficult. It would be if you were playing in a Power 4 conference. If you're playing in the Big 12, if you're playing in the Big 10, if you're playing in the SEC, even the ACC, if you played a full schedule, it makes it difficult to go 10-2 every year. Ask these other coaches. How they got that deal, I have no idea. But now, I think that they're going to be even more emboldened with their weak-ass scheduling. But, sorry, this is not the same. And that's the last time I'm going to explain it, because I've gotten several messages on it. I'm like, all right, you guys must not be everyday listeners. But, well, that's that, baby. Now Indiana's got to turn it around. Now, I didn't give Indiana any grief this year. Next year, they have to bring it. But Darren DeVries knows that. The entire staff knows that. They know they have to bring it next year. It's not a 4-year project. I will be the first person that is calling it out if it's not the case. I don't expect that to be the case, though. I think that this staff is going to do the job they need to do. I think Indiana fans are going to get to start seeing some fun basketball. Like what I was watching, like I said earlier. Watching St. Louis was fun. Man. I mean, wow. So, looking forward to today's games. Hopefully, today is Friday, right? I want to make sure that I'm not, off on days. Bill Bender will be joining us shortly. He didn't know what time. Sorry about that. But let's see. In other news, I mean to say, around the college game. Oh yeah, how are your brackets doing? Like I said, I went 11-5 yesterday. I would have liked to have had at least 2 of those back that were just bad picks. But Justin says he'll hold his Notre Dame comments today in honor of Lou Holtz. Great guy. Funny. Great coach. Great coach. Justin says, terrible, Jim. Same as Alec. No idea what he's talking about. Man, if you guys are going to drop comments and you say terrible what? I'm not a moderator. Sorry, Justin. Notre Dame gets first dibs on all Catholic school players in the USA. That's not true. I don't believe that to be true. But they are a great program. Don't get me wrong. They're an elite program. They'll probably be in the CFP this year with that sweetheart deal, especially. Because but what I want to know is, if this were last year and they had this sweetheart deal that the freaking committee gave to them, I don't understand why Notre Dame is handled with such kid gloves. That's another thing. Why do they get a deal that Ole Miss, Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, Ohio State, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, USC, nobody else gets that deal? So, yeah, who knows? But when is the IU spring football game? Is that the 17th or the 19th of April? I'll have to look that up. But spring practice begins soon. Pro Day is April 1st. Well, IU fan says he'd make Notre Dame join a conference. Well, that's not going to happen. That just not going to happen. They don't need to. They were able to pressure the committee to give them this deal. So why would you? They've got their own network with NBC. They don't have to share jack squat. When they go to the CFP, they're making dollars. That's why they cry so much about it. They make so much money at the CFP. They make more money than any other program when they get into the CFP because they keep it all. They keep it all. But Bill Bender's going to join us next. Russell says they tried that and were refused, so they built their own brand. Really? When did they try that? What conference did they try to join? When did they try to join a conference? Very odd. Yeah, and the funny thing is, they haven't won a national championship since 1988 with Lou Holtz. So, yeah, that's that. And that's the great thing about the NCAA basketball tournament. If you don't get into the NCAA, there's usually no crying there. Last year, it was shenanigans with Bubba Cunningham, North Carolina's AD. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, the great Bill Bender will be with us. Back with more right after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games every Sunday through Thursday, a new menu to dig into, and next-level upgrades like private game suites, the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington, 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this fantastic Friday. We have got good weather. We've got the NCAA tournament, and we've got Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Man, this is carnival. This is like getting to go to the carnival when you're a kid for 4 days and having all the tokens that you want. It's free tokens. Just go at it, baby. Yesterday was fantastic, Bill. I'm not calling these upsets anymore. They're not. They're only upsets because in our mind, we've created them as upsets. I guarantee you those guys that are out there, not an upset. I promise you, St. Louis does not think they upset anybody. VCU does not think that they upset North Carolina. North Carolina gave that game away, but just so much fun. It was amazing. How's your bracket?
It's okay. It's not busted, but it's bleeding. I'll put it that way.
I went 11-5.
It was like I do 4. So like when somebody asks like how's your bracket, so I typically I'm between best bracket 13, worst bracket 10, and that's pretty standard for me when I do these things. So but it's not busted. You're right. I mean, some of these, it's not just that the double-digit seeds won. I think it was the way they were playing with confidence, and it trickled down from Siena to Howard making 10 threes in the first half against Michigan to, obviously that High Point finish. I didn't see that one coming, Jim. I knew High Point could score. I didn't think they could outscore Wisconsin. And obviously Johnston, their 3-point shooter, he threw one. My son and I just that's the best part for me. Like yesterday, my son's on spring break. We were watching that game. Johnston throws in a 3, and to be able to share those moments and like, just be like, wow, and yesterday is the best day of the year. Today's is also a ton of fun, but Thursday is the best day of the year.
Well, it was certainly incredible and fun. As a matter of fact, I've said it earlier. It was like 1 or 1:30 in the morning. I'm watching this VCU North Carolina game again, and I hate watching stuff that I know the outcome to. I can't just. I've got to. Not that I was watching that game as if I had no idea what was going to happen because it was so riveting. It was like, oh my, oh God, oh they turn. I'm like, they turn the ball over, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And I'm like thinking, hey, Jackleg, you know what's going to happen. But it was just crazy. That game was awesome. One of the quintessential games, the Wisconsin game. They played well too. That's the sad thing is, and that I said this earlier, that's a team I hate to see getting knocked out because I think they could have done some damage and I would have liked to see them. Greg Gard does a tremendous job. The other ones I'm great with. I had VCU picked. But I would have liked to see Wisconsin go on. They were a good team, and they could have been a dangerous team.
Yeah, and I think the Big Ten got the teams through that aside from Wisconsin that we thought were going to get through. Obviously, Michigan, Illinois, Michigan State looked really good. Wisconsin disappointing into their season. Ohio State disappointing into their season, and Bruce Thornton's career. The way that unfolded against TCU, but and Nebraska played well. So. If you go 4-2 on the first day, that's not bad at all. They've got a couple other teams in action today, including Purdue. I don't know if I'm allowed to. I talked to Braden Smith this week, and he's going to break that all-time assist record. I'll tell you this about him. Somebody that played basketball a long time ago, the point guard was the only position I never played. And to get an understanding and appreciation for how he's done that for the last 4 years for them, rack up that many assists. He was a good conversationalist, and Purdue's an interesting team to me because I don't know if they can get out of that bracket. They'll win today, but I mean,
I've got them losing to Miami.
I think that could happen
because Malik Renew is playing, the former Indiana player, playing really well,
right.
And I think that they're always a very athletic team, and that is who gives Purdue problems. Athletic guards. Because if you can slow down or impede what Braden Smith is doing right now with the way he's playing, that's the recipe to beat Purdue because they don't have what I call an inside threat. Well, I know TKR has good games here and there, but Malik Renew, I think, would kind of take care of him. But either way, Purdue's been playing extraordinarily well. And I've said this all week, there's no question to me that Braden Smith went record hunting during the Big Ten tournament because the numbers were crazy. But the funny thing, what was that movie? The funny on the way along. Anyway, it made Purdue better. It made them a better team. He was getting everybody else involved. He was causing the defense to stretch out more because he was distributing instead of scoring, and he's pretty daggone good at that. There's no question about that, and that has made them better. I just don't think that they have the juice to go very deep.
Yeah, but that side of the bracket in the West, I think that's Arizona's bracket to lose. We'll see if they play today. I think Arkansas is going to be a factor. They obviously get High Point. They look good under Cal. I tend to trust Coach Cal, and then
they're my black horse team to make the Final Four that I do not have picked to make the Final Four.
Right.
And I am not a fan of Calipari, but that's because I grew up hating Kentucky. And so but I'm not going to ignore the fact that, and this is to Kentucky fans, be careful what you wish for. Look where you are now and all the screaming and crying that's going on the Kentucky fan boards. Look what Arkansas is doing.
And a tough
baby.
Tough game right
rolling.
And they have a tough game right off the bat today against Santa Clara. So, but I was not particularly impressed with Gonzaga last night. Have been impressed with Texas getting through the last two games. So that will be an excellent second round game on that side of the bracket. And then we're going to get into the Big East teams today. St. John's was a terrible seed. They should have been seeded higher. I think last night showed that St. Louis is a terrible seed. They're not a 9. They were nasty last night the way they were getting up and down.
Smoked. And Charles Barkley was saying he was disappointed in Georgia for giving up that many points. And then someone's reminded him, well, that's what St. Louis does. You go, yeah, they go, but they not that good. And everybody said, well, they're that good tonight.
Yeah, they were really good last night. And
41 3-point shots? Attempts.
So. They were on fire too. They
23 in the first half, Bill. That's more than probably 80% of the teams normally take in a game.
It creates a fascinating matchup with Michigan, who, like I said, Howard made 10 threes in the first half last night against Michigan. 10. They had made 12 as the season high. They were on fire against Michigan, and they were still down 4. And I think, there's a lot of talk about LJ Kayson and all this, but Michigan still got to 100 points last night. That is going to be a super entertaining game between Michigan and the Billikens. I still don't know what a Billiken is. I started doing some research.
Some kind of bird, isn't it?
It's some kind of weird animal that I started looking up. I can't tell by the picture. Started doing a little research. Then I got distracted. But that's a good basketball team. So that will be a highly entertaining game. And then,
it's a mythical creature, Bill. That's why.
Something they said, like, you rub its belly. I was like, I'm out. At that point,
it's a mythical creature that symbolizes good luck and is associated with St. Louis University. By Florence Pretz in the early 1900s, the Billiken is depicted as a jovial figure with a wide grin and is believed to be good. It sounds like Buddha. They've got Buddha. Yeah. They should be the St. Louis Buddhas instead of the Billikens.
Yeah, and so aside from mythology or whatever that thing is, I hope there's not one in my backyard right now. There was a giant possum in the backyard.
Be like a gnome.
Yeah, I'm like, get out of here. St. Louis proved and VCU proved the A-10 right, in my opinion, both of them with the wins. And today, the most interesting team, again, is Miami of Ohio playing Tennessee. If they go out and beat the Vols, I mean, here we are.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for them to beat Tennessee and then hope that Bruce Pearl is in the studio for that game. He was in the studio after they won their first game. You can tell it is like pulling teeth for him to be complimentary about Miami after he called all the things he said. And at the end, he congratulated them on getting their first quad 1 win. And I'm like,
that's so passive aggressive, isn't it?
I was like, dude, I'm like, hey brother, why don't you have your son schedule St. Louis? Yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. I was surprised that I said this earlier. Josh Schertz didn't take a bigger bump coaching move last year. I'm like, okay, you're that's not almost a little bit lateral, but not quite. He knew what he was doing. This can be his stepping stone, but he just signed a new extension.
Right. Yeah, and obviously they've proven their worth. And I think they're a dangerous game for Michigan. And maybe if Miami wins, and maybe if VCU, I don't think they're going to beat Illinois though. I think Illinois going to they looked nasty last night. They're
playing well.
They're tall. They're
healthy.
Well. They're getting out and going. They took it to Penn, and I think they're going to beat VCU. You get into the St. Louis thing though. I think maybe in the future tournaments we can say, hey, they should have been a 7. Probably should have been in that 7-10 game. Hey, Miami didn't deserve to be in a first 4 game. Maybe they should have been there. And then the other MAC team to watch today is Akron against Texas Tech. Now, Texas Tech's got to be a little bit off from 3-point range for this to happen, but Akron can absolutely go in and win that game, which would be good for the MAC. And yes, I'm a huge MAC homer, I suppose, but I think they're very interesting. The other team, Jim, that I'll be watching today, St. John's is poised to I was texting one of my best friends when I was filling out brackets. I was like, I went all in on St. John's last year and got burned, but I sent like a meme of a guy diving into a pool, like belly flopping into a pool. I was like, I'm going right back in on him.
I am too. I'm there with you. I've got them going. I think I have them losing to Michigan State and maybe the Elite 8. I'm always been a huge fan of Rick Pitino from the standpoint of I love watching him coach. He's set. What is he? 72 or 3? He looks like he's freaking 23 on the sideline. He's stalking back and forth. I love it. It's the passion, the energy that rubs off on the players. His game has always been fun to watch. He's just a basketball coach.
Yep.
That dude is a freaking basketball coach.
Yeah, and there's plenty of games there. What do you think about what's your take on UCLA today? Are they going to get it done against UCF?
I think that injury could hurt them there. Well, I know it could. I think I picked them to get beat in that game because of that injury. They lost their first game against, I think that was against Purdue without him, although Purdue was playing extraordinarily well in the Big Ten tournament. But yeah, I went that direction.
Yep. I mean, and I think, like I said, they're an interesting team. Big Ten, it could complete a really strong weekend. The SEC did have a good day yesterday. Some of those bubble teams we worried about, with the exception of Georgia getting blown out. I mean, 5-1 in the first round is not bad. Now we get to see Florida and Kentucky and Tennessee today, and that narrative can change in a hurry. But, it's been a fun first day. Sometimes when you have a little bit of craziness on day one, it gets chalky on day two. But, I think, another takeaway I had from yesterday was Duke without Caleb Foster is a different team, but Caden Boozer actually played well. And Cameron Boozer is just a free throw machine. That's what got them in the game. The free throws started to add up. He's very good, all-around player. TCU is going to give them a good game, though. I do. I think TCU is going to hang around with them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hey, before we get too deep, I want to make sure we talk about the latest piece out from the Sporting News celebrating 140 years of the Sporting News' existence, and Bill was not there at the beginning. He did not join until the second year of the Sporting News. Mike was there in the first year. No, I'm just kidding. Boy, oh boy, I scrolled to the bottom, and that's going to stir a lot of conversation. It's a great piece about the all-time number seeds, the all-time who would be the Final Four, and from all eras. How far now does this cover all eras?
No, it goes back to 79. So the idea of the piece,
okay,
we didn't get 70.
Thing I was going to say was,
I know,
what the hell?
That's in the lead. That so we took the seeding era, which is 78, 79, and we seeded out a tournament based on seed. So UMBC gets in as one of the best 16 seeds of all time, and so on and so on. Obviously the Indiana team in there is the Isaiah Thomas team. And then we kind of did a fictional bracket of how that might play out between the greatest seeds of all time on each line. And, we created some fun matchups like Sister Jean's Loyola versus NC State and Valvano. That was my favorite one. But we got into the tournament itself, and, that Indiana team was right there. You start to wonder, okay, not counting in the seeding era. So not counting.
Are you talking about the 81 team now or the 76 team?
The 81 team. So just in the seeding era. So you're talking about that team. You're talking about Magic Johnson at Michigan State.
Where are they seeded then? Because I know their record wasn't sterling.
2, I think.
Oh, they were a 2 seed?
Wait, let me look. I had it. Let me look.
I remember they were like
3 even.
They had like 11 losses or something, I think.
The one that won the national title?
Yeah. Their season didn't start great.
We got them as a 3 seed, 80-81. So
yeah, I haven't gotten it pulled up, but I seem to remember they didn't, for a national champion, their season kind of started off rocky.
I mean, they lost 9 games. So there we go. 26-9. So, but they did win the national championship. They're one of the best 3 seeds ever. I mean, you can't say they're not. And then you get into the tournament where, like, we had a couple Michigan teams on there. The 89 team, the Fab Five. By the Fab Five, the first year was a 6 seed. So it was a fun. Like, the point is, it was a fun exercise that we kind of played through the bracket. Mike and I are kind of in agreement, and you're going to hate this answer, but I like 95-96 Kentucky is probably the best team in my lifetime. 34-2.
They're definitely a team that I don't think you can take one team. I don't think there is one team, because for one, it's all subjective, of course, and we would never know. I can't say that team would not have beaten the 76 team. I don't know that.
We don't know that. That's a hypothetical, but
I know how damn good that team was. Yeah. And the Kentucky team was obviously outstanding as well. How many one and dones were on that team?
Right. The 95-96 team, that was the one with like Tony Delk and Pitino was coach. And again, to your point earlier, Jim, this was 30 years ago, and Pitino's still on a sideline doing his thing.
And he had it set up so well that he leaves and Tubby Smith walks into a national championship team.
Yeah. And then, so Mike and I argued a little bit about, so we put the 4-1 seeds on there, and it was, Jordan's North Carolina team, that Kentucky team, the Duke team, 91-92, which I believe is right there, in terms of just complete. We were arguing over UNLV and Georgetown, which the interesting thing about UNLV and Georgetown is both teams won a national title. The following year, their team was better, both of them, and they didn't win the national title. Of course, Georgetown loses to Villanova, that UNLV team. I call myself a kid, I'm 46, but guys that were growing up and in high school during that UNLV run, they were the ultimate cool team. I mean, I lived in Central Ohio, and everybody liked UNLV then in that 2-year period.
Yeah, and daggone it, what was I going to say? You mentioned teams. Indiana, Bob Knight always said that his 75 team was better than the 76 team.
There you go.
So, and it probably was true because he had John Leskowski on there. I can't remember who else they lost off of that. I'll tell you who else they didn't have was Larry Bird.
Do you think the Indiana team with Alford was better than the Indiana team with Isaiah?
Nope.
Okay, that was just making sure we got that part right.
No way. The Alford team was an amazing national championship team because they were not greatly athletic. But you just had this Indiana schoolboy shooter in Alford and then the 3-point line was just at the top of the key. So much easier shot then, but he was a prolific shooter and did what he was supposed to do. And Bob Knight was so good at getting his role players to play their roles. What's his name? They only had 4 players that scored in that championship game. Ricky Callaway did not score a point. So, but I think that was the quintessential Bob Knight team because he won with not having the best players. In 76, he had the best freaking players. Good God, how many first-round draft picks were on that team? Benson and Buckner and May. Did Bobby Wilkerson play in the NBA? Yep. I mean, did they all play in the NBA? That team was – I don't remember watching them. So I don't have that. I just know from a historic perspective.
So the first Indiana teams that I vaguely remember Alford. I was pretty young at the time, but I very much remember the Calbert Chaney, Damon Bailey, Fab Five wars. I mean, those are vivid to me. I remember sitting up watching those games when they would play Michigan, and those were two of that Indiana team that had Chaney and made the Final Four. Probably gets undersold that, hey, they didn't lose the Fab Five, right? They lost one of the two in the 2 years where it was. I think they lost one time, right? I think they were 3-1 against Michigan. Your listeners can certainly correct me, but I just know they would get the upper hand in those games. And both teams go to the Final Four, 92-93. I think they were a outstanding team, with Bob Knight there. So, but this article we did, it goes all the way down to Steph Curry in the 10 is the best 10 seed. And we had a lot of fun. There were some great illustrations by our graphics team. I was part of a week where Sporting News celebrated. Like you said, it's 140th anniversary this week. It was a cool week for us in our publication. I know we're not – I always say we're kind of like the Tigers or the Pirates. We're kind of that classic baseball organization that, kind of grinds it out and does it. And, we've been around forever and we've got cool uniforms and we get after it. But, I
need to get a cool uniform. But yeah.
You have a cool hat. I need to get a hat like that.
That's what I need. The fact that the Sporting News has been able to navigate these waters, love it. And we love you. Appreciate you so much, buddy. I hope your bracket does well. See how we'll look forward to doing this again next week, man. I'm looking forward to a fun weekend.
I will. I'll check in with you next week, Jim. Thanks so much for having me on. Take care.
Appreciate you. Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Make sure you're giving him a follow, as well as Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com. Appreciate him as well. Most importantly, thanks to each and every one of you. Hope your brackets are doing well. Until Monday, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.